Good evening, and welcome to Careers TV, Ontario's only television show devoted to exploring careers in our community. Please welcome the host of our show, Gilday.
Thank you, David, and welcome to Careers TV, the show where each week we explore a different career in our community. Tonight, we'll be exploring careers in real estate, in particular, real estate agents. Now, buying a house can be a very emotional experience, a very complex process. You'll find hundreds of properties listed in newspapers, on websites, but which one is the right one for you? With a real estate agent, you can find not only a house, but a home. They can guide you through every step, explaining the market, the process, the paperwork. And when it's time to make an offer, an agent can negotiate on your behalf. They are typically paid on a commission basis from the sale of the property. Our guest tonight is Mr. Greg Lewis. Now, Greg has had an illustrious career in sales, and he's worked in sales for a number of years. Here to help us explore this exciting career in real estate is Mr. Greg Lewis. Thank you, Greg. How are you doing this evening?
I am excellent, Al. Thank you for having me on your show.
Greg, I was wondering if you could start by telling us what type of training you had to undertake in order to become a real estate agent.
Absolutely. It used to be years ago that just about anybody could be a real estate agent. There wasn't much training involved. But in the last few years, this has really changed. And today, you have to go through a number of courses to be a real estate agent. You start with 3 basic courses that you have to take. And at the conclusion of each one of those, you have to write a 3-hour exam. And for someone like myself that hadn't been in school for a number of years, a 3-hour exam was very tricky. But once you get through that, and if you pass all of them, and in real estate, a pass is considered 75%, at least in Ontario. So you have to achieve 75% on each of these 3 tests. If you do that, as I did, then you become a real estate agent. But then you still have to take an additional 3 courses in the next 2 years. And each of those courses also has a 3-hour exam that you have to write, and they're all multiple choice at the end of it. So that's the basic training, if you will, to become a real estate agent. After you complete that, every 2 years you have to take additional training and upgrading courses to keep you current on what's going on in the market.
So, am I right in saying that the reason why they tightened up and put all these restrictions in the training is because a lot of people were getting their real estate license and over a number of years and holding that real estate license, but they weren't actively working in the field?
That's partially the reason. And certainly there were agents that would become out of touch, if you will, with what was going on in the real estate world. But more importantly, in today's society, there are many more regulations. A real estate agent is responsible for many more things than they ever used to be. So be it financial matters, be it legal matters. Now, I'm not a lawyer. Unfortunately, some of my clients thought I was a lawyer. And some of their lawyers thought I was a lawyer, but that wasn't the case. But what does happen is, in the world today, a real estate agent has much more responsibility than ever before. So as a result of that, the governing bodies felt that more training was required because of the higher expectations. And certainly from a legal perspective, there is much more liability for a real estate agent than there ever used to be.
Now, this might be hard for you to comment on, but would you be able to describe a typical day on the job in the life of a real estate agent? A lot of us here in the studio audience probably think that you sit around waiting for the phone to ring when somebody has a house to sell or to buy. They give you a call, and that's how it works. Can you explain a typical day on the job for us?
Well, like with many jobs, and certainly with a sales job, a typical day, there really isn't a typical day. But if I were to construct an average day, it would be something like this. I would start out in the morning by checking the internet and checking to see what had happened in the market over the previous night. Houses come up for sale, houses are sold. Sure. When you're working with a number of clients, they may have particular houses that they're interested in, so I would check and see if any had come available for them. Or conversely, if I had an eye on a house that I thought a client might be interested in, to make sure, see if it's still available. I'd also look and see houses that had sold. How much did they sell for? Did they go for asking price? How long did they take to sell? To give me a better understanding of what was going on in the marketplace. And that would take, depending on what was going on there, that could take a couple hours to go through.
Sure.
Using the computer as well, you always have, of course, in today's world, there's lots of email to deal with and correspondence. I would also spend in the morning time lining up appointments for clients to see houses that would either be in the afternoon or would be in the evening. And that takes a lot of time to do because you've got to get a hold of other agents to say, I'd like to go see this particular house. And then those agents have to get a hold of the homeowner to see if it's okay for you to go, and then they have to get back to you, and so on and so forth. So that takes several hours to do. As I got into the afternoon, then I would start showing houses, or I'd start talking to new or prospective clients. And then through the evening, you're out continuing to show houses, and or if you're lucky enough to be making offers and writing up deals, you would spend time doing that.
So it's definitely not a typical 9-to-5 job that many would expect from a career in sales.
Not at all, not at all. It's the challenge of the job is that you can start very early and you can work very late and you can work weekends, and by nature a lot of it is you are working when other people aren't.
Sure.
The flip side of it is you are your own boss, so that if you you want to take days off, you can. If you don't want to work on a weekday for you want to spend time with your children or whatever, you can certainly do that. So there is give and take. It's definitely not a 9-to-5 job, and it has positives and negatives.
So it's nice to have that flexibility built into your day. If something comes up, or as you said, you want to watch your kids' hockey game, or
absolutely. You know, I do have a daughter who scores many goals, and so I often go and watch her score in the hockey games that she plays in. And sometimes this happens during the day. So because I'm in real estate, I have the opportunity that I can go, let's say between 2 and 3 in the afternoon, watch my daughter play, score a few goals, get a few assists, and then I can continue on with my real estate work. Whereas if I had, say I was like a general manager in a typical company or something like that, I wouldn't have that flexibility unless I was in a very unique company where you could get that, but those are very rare.
Exactly. Now, what type of skills do you believe a person should have in order to succeed in real estate?
I think you need a wide variety of skills. Certainly you have to have good empathy and good people skills. You have to have a great deal of patience. You spend a lot of time working with people that sometimes never end up buying anything from you. But you have to invest a lot of time, effort, and quite frankly, money in that. So you have to be very patient, because not everyone finds the house they want right away. You have to have good math skills. You're dealing a lot in finance. You're helping people with financial matters. You're advising them on mortgages, etc. Again, you're not a mortgage person, but they still look to you for that advice. So you have to have some sense of finance and how to understand that.
Have you ever run across people who just enjoy going out and looking at houses, and you have to kind of realize that that's the only thing that they're interested in, and you have to kind of qualify them as a sales a person that would be interested in buying?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are people that for some reason their joy in life is traveling around looking at houses they will never buy, and you have to quickly weed those people out. And then you still have people that will look and look and look and look. I had one client that I showed them 25 houses.
Oh.
And now luckily they did actually buy a house, but I've had other clients where I've shown 10 or 15 houses and they just decided they were tired of looking and just stopped.
Wow. Now, in my research I came up with some interesting stories about real estate agents. I read about one agent who was showing a vacant piece of land to a couple, and they brought their small dog with them. And they came out to see this piece of land. Out of nowhere, a hawk swooped down and picked up the dog and took off. And the couple, the real estate agent was mortified, and the couple got into their motorhome and was never seen again. There was another man who thought a cash offer meant that he actually had to bring cash. So he showed up at the office with $20,000 in a knapsack, and he kind of dumped it onto the real estate agent's desk. So if you had any unusual or funny stories that have happened to you as a real estate agent?
I've had many. I know you're tight for time on your show, so I'll share one quick one with you. And that was, I took this couple. They were a very straight-laced, very religious couple. And I was showing them houses, and I went to one house. I'd made an appointment to show them the house, and they had a renter in the basement. And when we went in, there was nobody upstairs. There was supposed to be nobody home because we had booked the appointment. But I thought, just to be safe, I'll go downstairs and check. And sure enough, I walked down into the basement, and their renter was about a 28-year-old man who was completely naked, passed out on the couch in the living room. At which point I made a noise to try and wake him up. He couldn't really be woken up, so I went upstairs and was able to say to the couple, wait, no, we're not going to go down here. Get them back upstairs. They would have been mortified. As I said, they were very religious. And I was able to get them out of the house. And we went to look at another one, and unfortunately that one was actually owned by a biker who turned out to be the nicest guy in the world, but on first impressions was a little scary. So that was just a couple of the adventures in real estate I've had.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for this week. Thank you, Greg, for taking time to discuss real estate as a career with us this evening. Be sure to tune in next week when we will explore another career here on Careers TV. Good night.
There you go.
Thank you.